I'm looking at our next guest via Zoom, and not a sunshine backdrop, but I'm telling you, you've got one of the coolest looking backdrops for all the music people. Brian Kage with us, producer and DJ on the Oakland County Megacast. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I think a lot of people don't understand or don't realize that Detroit is techno.
Oh yeah, Detroit is the birthplace of techno. Started here in the early 80s, actually late 70s, early 80s, by three black guys, Juan Atkins, Derek May, and Kevin Saunderson. And it kind of, it was an underground thing here. They had underground dance parties, and then it got very popular in Europe, and then the rest is history, and here we are.
It's one thing for it to start here in Detroit, but how has it continued to be such an attraction for people all over the world? I've covered the techno, the music festival, and people come from all over the world to attend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's become an attraction because I think dance music is in our souls. I think, people are looking to meet other people. So, this music that we create in these studios here, they are the background music to nightlife, to day parties, to parties on a boat. They're very good sociable music for people to meet other people. So I think that's why dance music has become such a popular thing.
Brian, tell us a little bit about how you got into this and about your career, too. What are you doing right now? And then we'll get into how are you surviving during this time?
Yeah, so basically when I was 17 or 18, I had a good group of friends that sort of got me into the dance music scene. But through the radio, actually, during the late 90s, there was this electronica revolution. They were playing like the Prodigy, Underworld, Chemical Brothers on the radio. And wow, we were just like blown away. We had never heard this sound. And then I started digging into it and really got passionate about it. I've always had a passion for music, especially like video game music. So basically dug into it and realized, wow, this is actually from my hometown. So I had like this weird thing happen, like this inception thing happen where I found out about it from Europe and then brought it back home. And then the rest is history for my like upbringing with techno. I just went down the rabbit hole really quick. And then, so in terms of what I'm doing now is I run a record label here in town. I still press vinyl records. It's called Michigander. You can find all my releases at michigandermusic.com. I put out a bunch of music. I put out music for other folks around town. I've done music for Carl Craig, Omar S., just some of the names around town that, are famous in the world, but normal guys, normal average dudes here in Detroit. So,
what part of Metro Detroit did you grow up in?
I grew up in Fraser, actually. I grew up in Fraser. I now live in Warren, and I work in Rochester. So I'm on the burbs, but I'm not too far from the city. I'm glad I'm like right close to the city. So, obviously we have COVID going on. So, that's obviously a problem where you can't do nightlife stuff, but it's a nice little pocket.
So, see, dreams do come true, even for kids in the suburbs. So tell us about how are you surviving right now? So obviously the music industry has taken one of the biggest hits. My nephew plays music in Chicago, and this has been devastating for him and the members of his band. Are you coming up with some virtual ways to get through this? And are you at least allowed back into the studio?
Well, yeah, absolutely. This is my studio, right? So, I mean, I built this over many of years working. I have a day job. I work for Oakland University. I teach kids video production, and I also help do audio and video production stuff for the university. So that really helps. This is kind of like my hobby turned into like my half career, So this is like something that I do on the side, but it's definitely enveloped a lot of my life. In terms of gigging and stuff, yeah, gigging's very difficult during these times. So we've had to do some interesting things. For example, like a lot of these festivals are doing virtual festivals. Movement Electronic Music Festival did a really cool 72 hours back to back to back DJs. There's also another festival here called Charivari, which is a grassroots festival that I was able to play this year. And they wanted something special, so we set up a DJ rig, very socially distanced, on a boat with my closest family members. So and we did some really cool drone and GoPro shots and stuff like that. So it's very challenging, but it's also cool because it levels the playing field for musicians. Like, people are getting more notice now because it's not all about the hype and about people that are, I don't know, like, just more hype around them. There's actually, like, it's coming down to raw talent and innovation, which is, I think, is a lot more interesting now. So it's kind of like evening the playing field with the virtual thing.
DJ and producer Brian Kage with us on the Oakland County MegaCast throughout the local area. Brian, you talk about how there's a lot of innovation and a lot of trial and error that goes into making techno music and electronic music. For you as a musician that's creating these different tunes, what inspires you when you're creating these tunes and you're experimenting with the different tones and the different sounds into making this electronic music?
Well, I definitely think that what inspires me about electronic music is my friends, my family, and where I grew up and where I live now. Like Michigan, that's why my record label is called Michigander. Like, I believe I pull a lot of influences from different parts of Michigan. Like, I think Michigan is an underrated state. There's just so many cool things to do here. There's so many places to see. It's such a beautiful state in the summer, and even in the winter too, if you like snowmobiling, or something like that. But I think that's what really influences my sound, my family, my friends, and the state of Michigan.
So you're also a teacher, and I look at how much technology has changed, probably just even from the 90s when you got into this. Do you think with today's technology, such as GarageBand and programs such as that, it is making music more accessible to so many more people?
I think absolutely. All these computers, everything that, I mean, you see a lot of analog gear back here, but everything that you can do in music is on the computer. So laptops are getting cheaper, iPads are available, Microsoft Surfaces, everything can be done on something like this, these days, these telephones. So I think that it's really interesting to see. And it's also cool because it's not about like what gear you have. It's about what you have in your brain and what kind of passion you have to do this.
So we are speaking with Brian Kage. You are a producer, a DJ, and a teacher. That's quite the life and quite the career that you have.
Yeah.
Going forward, how much longer do you think some of these music venues can stay closed and still survive?
It's going to be a difficult thing. I've been trying to donate some of my time to help some of these venues around town that are, famous for dance music nights and doing what I can to help them. But it's a difficult situation. I know there's a lot of funding opportunities available to small businesses. I hope that we all come through this and are able to get back to what we all do best, and that's playing music, performing music, and socializing with people. So I don't know. I cannot give you an answer for that. That's a very difficult question.
Yeah, I know it's so hard because musicians and DJs feed off of the energy of a crowd. So if you're kind of focused right now, shifting back into the studio, anything new coming out that people should look forward to?
Yeah, actually, I have 2 new records out right now. One is called Reality Ahead, which I wrote down during lockdown. It's on my label called Michigander Music at michigandermusic.com. and it's, there's a track called That Woman from Michigan, which features the governor, on vocals, which is pretty cool. And we also have another record that just came out on a Belgium label called Cassette Cuts, which I recorded on cassette tape and then re-recorded it into my computer, and that's out, and that's called Cassette Cuts, and it's on We Play House Records.
Okay, I'm wondering where you even found the equipment on a cassette to be able to make that. Remember doing mixtapes back in the day, and you were like pushing the two buttons at once? Was it kind of like that?
Yeah, kind of. It's like they make these cassette recorders. It's actually sitting, it's over there somewhere, but it's actually a multi-track recorder. So, you get your different parts and you record right into the tape cassette, and you hit record, and then basically it gives that tape sound, that warm, saturated analog sound. It just adds like a different flavor to the music. It's interesting. Even VHS tapes, you can record a VHS tapes, you get a different flavor from the saturation of an old school VHS tape. So that's kind of what I was aiming to do with my Cassette Cuts EP.
So Brian, Tyler's kind of looking at me like, cassette tapes? What are those? We don't want to talk about 8-track.
I know what that is. No.
Right, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Before we let you go here, just talk a little bit about being inspired. And when you were in lockdown, were there days that you didn't want to make music, or did music help get you through this?
Honestly, I've been the most invigorated and inspired I've ever been, because a lot I've been able to be home, like my time has been so stretched in between, my time at work and my commitments to my family and being home, that haven't had the opportunity to be in the studio as much as I should be, or I want to be, I should say. So right now, like what I'm working on is an album for myself. I've never done an album in the 20 years I've been doing this, and I'm really stoked and excited to be doing that. So yeah, this has definitely invigorated me. I know it's, and that's a positive thing. Yeah, obviously we can't DJ and we can't make money doing gigs, but I mean, there's other avenues and there's other ways. And I think the most important thing is to be innovative and just keep pushing yourself forward as an artist and as an influencer in some sort of ways, and if you're not, looking at future technologies like Zoom or Twitch or YouTube, as a musician, you're not doing your job right, in my opinion.
Brian Kage with us, producer and DJ with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Brian, with that in mind, what do you see the future of electronic music and just the future of music production being and its impact from the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think there's always going to be electronic music. I think people are going to find it one way or another. They're going to be interested in it. From COVID, I don't see electronic music going away. I think it's just going to be more popular. And once this thing ends, it's just going to be boom for the industry.
And before we let you go, I want to shift real quickly because like you said, you do teach at Oakland University. Video production is not an easy thing to try to teach through the internet or via Zoom, or at least not for me. I've been trying to teach myself Photoshop through YouTube videos for about a year now. Are you going back into the classroom, or do you anticipate that happening? If not, what does this look like for the students coming up in the fall?
Well, fortunately, like my teaching has to do with like working in a department and mentoring students, so it's a little bit different than the other professors on campus and special lecturers. But yeah, we will be going back to OU to do shoots and to do special things or special events. Like commencements is coming up this week, so that's going to be, we're all going to be all hands on deck, but we are practicing safety guidelines, socially distancing, and we will be there for our students as much as we can. We're taking all the proper measures and everything to make sure that our students are safe, and they're our number one priority.
Brian Kage. He is a producer, a DJ, and a teacher at Oakland University. You do it all. Anything that you want people to know before we let you go? Also, where can they find your music? And are you on social media? I would imagine you are.
Yeah, so you can find me. You can just search on Google Brian Kage with a K, Kage, and then you can find my music at michigandermusic.com. I also do a synthwave band called Escape Driver if you're interested in synthwave, like new 80s kind of style, which is a very interesting project. So yeah, Brian Kage.
So I do, I have to admit, I don't know what Twitch is. So Tyler, do you?
I do, I'm aware.
Oh, okay, so I'm just the old one here, right?
Well, I mean, Twitch is like, it started off as like a gaming platform, and for gamers to play games and then basically stream them out into the world where other people could watch them play games, which was like, wow, like, is that even going to work? But yeah, it's going to work because people are interested in watching other people try these games, try new games, and then they're also interested in the personnel of the people that are doing these games. So yeah, it's kind of gotten huge.
Well, it was great being able to speak with you this morning. Thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom. I'm going to check out your music and maybe get a house party going on with me, my husband, and my dog.
Oh, boy.
Cool. We'll have a good time, and thanks for having me.